Thank you very much, Madam Chairman, and I apologize in advance for the length of this statement. But first, I'd like to begin by commending you and your staff for the hard work, the creativity, the cooperative spirit you've brought to our joint effort to produce a strong bill. I also thank members on both sides of the aisle for their efforts and ideas geared towards improving this bill and strengthening our overall sanctions regime on Iran. Madam Chairman, last year the President signed into law our Comprehensive Iran Sanctions Accountability and Divestment Act, CSADA. This law provided the tools for the administration to impose strengthened sanctions against companies that support Iran's energy sector and against financial institutions that support Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps. That bill has been effective in many ways. It has impeded Iran's access to international financial markets, as Iranian President Ahmadinejad acknowledged yesterday, and it has led every major Western energy company to draw down its Iran operations. It's also laid the groundwork for the EU to oppose tough sanctions. Yet, as I have said previously, nothing that we do or that the administration has done can be deemed truly effective until Iran ends its nuclear weapons program and stops supporting terrorism. And we know that Iran is continuing to increase its stockpile of low-enriched uranium and make progress in other ways towards a nuclear weapons capability. Accordingly, we must now seek to strengthen sanctions significantly. The bill we are marking up today, the Iran Threat Reduction Act, builds on past efforts by restricting the terms on which a company can pledge to end its work in Iran as an alternative to sanctions, expanding the types of activities that trigger presidential investigations of potentially sanctionable activity, and widening the scope of sanctions on human rights abusers. I also want to make it clear, my view, that nothing in this bill should limit in any way the President's ability to conduct diplomacy as he sees fit. For now, I'd like to focus on two of the measures which, with the Chairman's cooperation, I added to this amendment in the nature of the substitute, and then I'd like to discuss briefly the amendment I plan on offering this morning. One of the measures I include in the substitute would restrict foreign subsidiaries of U.S. companies from engaging in business with Iran, making them subject to the same sanctions as their parent U.S.-based company. The notion that we wanted to do this in CSADA, but the other House wasn't too excited about that prospect. We hope now we can move forward on this. The notion that a foreign subsidiary of a U.S. company can conduct business that would be sanctionable in the U.S., conduct business that U.S. national security interests prevent the U.S. company itself from conducting, undermines our efforts to prevent Iran from achieving a nuclear weapons capability. We should never allow the slightest bit of doubt as to our seriousness or purpose regarding our efforts to prevent Iran from achieving a nuclear weapons capability. That's why we have to bring the behavior of foreign subsidiaries of U.S. companies into line with U.S. practice. When U.S. companies allow their foreign subsidiaries to sell Iran materials that are prohibited under U.S. law, those companies are violating the spirit of our sanctions regime. Once this bill becomes law, such behavior will be a violation of the letter of the law as well. Another measure included in this substitute would impose sanctions on foreign commercial enterprises that do business with the Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps. In CSADA, we established a sanction regime for foreign banks that conduct business or facilitate transactions with the IRGC. Given the prominent role that the IRGC plays in the Iranian economy, we believe that sanction has had a significant impact. Now we need to widen the net to extend the prohibition to all commercial enterprises. Among its terrorist activities, we all know, is the recent plot to assassinate the Saudi ambassador to the United States that was carried out by the Quds Force, which is the IRGC's Special Operations Force. There should be consequences for this type of behavior, and I believe the international community must stand up against this threat. This measure will give foreign companies incentive to do that. And finally, the amendment that I'll be offering shortly would sanction the Central Bank of Iran if it is found to be engaged in facilitating WMD development, terrorism, or any type of support for the IRGC. In fact, I believe the Central Bank of Iran is not only engaging in those activities, I believe it is the ultimate engine of those activities. We will need to work with our global partners to make a sanction on the central bank as effective as possible. Our hope is that an economically challenged Iran will have less money to spend on weapons of mass destruction, terrorism, and other nefarious activities. By all accounts, Madam Chairman, the sanctions we passed last year have made life difficult for the Iranians. But oil prices remain high, a lifesaver of the Iranian economy. They continue to increase its stockpile of enrichment, of enriched uranium, and it is increasing at increasingly higher levels. The nuclear clock is moving ever closer to midnight. We can't nibble around the edges. We need a sanctions regime that is as bold as the Iranian nuclear program is brazen. Our legislation, fortified by sanctions on the Central Bank of Iran, is an important step in that direction. I thank the Chairman for the time.